What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Mets Postgame Show right here on our channels and on X. And finally, we beat the Braves this year, and it was really, really good until the ninth, as the Mets had to make it interesting, but they finally beat the Braves, finally get a victory. It was a long time ago. It felt like we have won a game, even though we did beat Philly not so long ago, but it was just a rough go of it. Chris, we finally got one.
A sigh of relief. It's a sigh of relief. I mean, wow. I don't even know. I'm speechless. I did all my ranting on the video that I posted earlier today. So if you guys missed it, go check that out. I'll link it in the description down below on my stream. I did all my ranting there. This has been some ugly, brutal baseball. And this win, the first Mets win against the Braves this season after going 0-5 in their first 5 meetings. It's a win, Rob. It's a win. So listen, it's been a while since we've been able to do this on stream. Let's spam some W's right now. Let's spam some W's. Mets fans, regardless of the BS that has transpired over the past week and a half, it's good to finally spam some W's in the chat. That is much needed. And hopefully, I'm not convinced just yet. My live chat poll, I'm asking you all, are you convinced with this win? I'm not convinced just yet. I'll have to see how tomorrow goes. But this is at least something we can build off of. So, yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into the X's and O's. We got to talk about Soto. But make sure to smash those thumbs up buttons on this stream. Subscribe to both channels, all that fun stuff. And hit the comment section. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We see all these comments right now. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm not convinced either because we saw it against the Phillies. The only difference is we got a couple of more base hits instead of just regular home runs. Different from tonight than against the Phillies when we scored 11 runs. You know, they got to be consistent. They haven't been all year, and until they do it, you can't be convinced yet. But it was a really nice go of it after all the talk of Mr. $765 million man. He comes through and is now leading the team in home runs. Got 45 RBIs, got his average all the way up to 256 from 221 in the beginning of the month. 25 days of this month, he jumped up just over 30 points in his average, 10 home runs in June, and it's just been outstanding. And this is what we were expecting the entire stretch of his season for the first time wearing a Mets uniform, but it was just outstanding. The ball jumps off his bat, man. It's just quite amazing when you watch him every day, and you just see the talent in general. I know that people don't get excited about the on base and the walks, and his eye at the plate sets himself up for pitches that he can just destroy just like that. And it's nice to see Juan Soto basically carrying the team. Let's be honest, guys. In June, it's been the Juan Soto show and partially Brandon Nimmo, but it's been the Juan Soto show. He's carried this team in the month of June, even when they were struggling, because nobody has been helping them other than Brandon Nimmo for the most part, except for Brandon Nimmo over the last 10 games, but it's been Juan Soto month of June. And he's carried his team in the month of June. Again, we went through, 10 out of 11 before we finally won today. It's a rough one, but, overall, it was a great performance by the entire team. Clay Holmes looked good today. I know some people were upset that he didn't get out on the 6th inning. I would have been, because I'm a big advocate of letting them go, but you just had to make sure that you had to take care of him in this situation. He pitched well, and I just felt like he just looks tired, Clay Holmes, and somehow, some way they got to figure it out. To be quite honest with these pitchers, Chris, I did rant on this pregame a lot when it comes to mostly the pitching, but because the offense, we all know it's been bad, right? There's nothing else to say about it except they got to be better. But the pitching, as great as it was always going to take a step back. Now, how far of a step back? It's still yet to be determined. It hasn't been good, but it's a trickle down effect, right? The starting pitchers don't go deeper. Guys get hurt. Your bullpen's going to be used a lot more. They were overused a lot in the beginning of the year, which is understandable because of the fact that you're not going to stretch out your guys in April. But they, even though they've gone a little deeper into games, it's still a big issue. And I talked about a lot of guys with options. That's what Stearns likes. But it just seems like the low leverage guys aren't very good at all. But but they got over the hump today. I'm not excited, but it was nice to enjoy a game for once. Like the stress levels. I mean, I saw your TikTok video. You see my video. It's we've been at it. We've been going through it, and all the Met fans alike have been doing the same thing on social media, Chris. And it's just a sigh of relief. But they got to do it tomorrow, or today means nothing. To be quite honest.
Yeah, again, like we just said, are we convinced with this win? It was nice to get the first win out of the way against the Braves this season in 2025, but we need the win tomorrow. If they win tomorrow with Griffin Canning on the mound and they're able to even this series up, then I'm like, all right, I'm feeling confident in the Pirates series, not having to face Paul Skeens, going into Pittsburgh, by the way, which you and I will be at. We'll be in Pittsburgh for that. And we're feeling good.
Yep.
You need to win tomorrow. That's a non-negotiable. I'll say that very much up front. We'll say, too, the pitching, we knew, like you and I both knew that there was going to be regression with this pitching. Yep. The way they started off this season compared to what this rotation is on paper, there was going to be some regression. But when that regression hit, we were saying, hopefully by that time, the offense has it figured out to mitigate that. And they didn't. And that's why you've seen before tonight, 10 losses out of the last 11 games, right? That's why you've seen that. So all we can do is just hope that tonight translates and carries over into tomorrow, and so on and so forth. What I also will say is, listen, you can do Nolan McLean. I will say Nolan McLean is pitching pretty well in AAA. He's pitched 43 innings in AAA. He's got a 2.6 ERA. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him already. I know that he's fast-tracked the minor leagues, and I know that David Stearns probably isn't going to do it. But with the way this rotation is struggling right now, I would not be opposed. This rotation is going to be okay when Kodai and Sean Manaea come back. They'll still need a pitcher. Even given those two guys coming back. But I really do think that they should give a shot to Nolan McLean. Because at this point, desperate times call for desperate measures. And I wouldn't be opposed to that. So I wanted to throw that out there first off. But this month has been the Juan Soto month.
Yep.
Someone said in my inbox or my DMs, not my DMs, my notifications on X, June Soto. It's June Soto. This guy's hitting, before tonight, he came into this game hitting .315 with over an 1150 OPS for this entire month. Pete Alonso over the last 2 weeks has been non-existent. Francisco Lindor for the better part of the last 2 weeks has been non-existent. Brendan Nimmo, like you said, is coming around. Jeff McNeil has been decent. He's been okay. He got a multi-hit game today, too. Bottom of the lineup has been dreadful, but another guy that we need to talk about having a great night, finally, is Ronnie Mauricio.
Yep.
3 for 4, 3-hit game. This team is still not clicking on all cylinders, Rob. That's the problem. Yep. That's the problem. Really good win. I will say that. Congratulations also to Juan Soto. He beats out Jimmy Fox for most multi-home run games in his career, in their respective careers, before the age of 27. Clap it up for Juan Soto, because Juan Soto, it's an amazing accomplishment, hands down. But yeah, I think that this offense really needs to get going. We will not see this team unlocked until this offense gets going. Pitching is what it is. They've been carrying this team for the better part of this season so far to contribute to a lot of wins and close ball games, both the bullpen and the rotation. This offense found a little bit of a hot streak before the Rays series, before this whole losing streak began, and they just kind of went away. They need to come back. It's going to help that Vientos is going to be back tomorrow. I'm sure he's going to get the start. I would anticipate he's going to get the start. Maybe. We'll see. He's going to be back with the team. But all eyes for me are on this offense because the guys up top, Pete Alonso, Lindor not contributing, when you have such a top-heavy lineup with not much production in the bottom of the order, you're going to need the guys to step up. So that's all I'll say on that sort of rant. And this is nothing that I haven't said in my video earlier today. Like I said, go check that out on my channel if you missed it. But even still, what a damn win for this team. It's a sigh of relief. And present truth in the chat. How about Kyle Schwarber to the Mets this offseason? Yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I've been saying, I probably said this like 3 times already on these streams that we do. Give me Kyle Schwarber in the offseason. And I'm not going to fast forward to the offseason because it's still like a millennium away. I understand that. But Rob, this team has to find a way to build off of this win. They didn't do it after their 7 home run performance in Philly. This win right here is a win that they have to build off of. Tomorrow is a must win for the New York Mets. I'm sorry to say it. This is June. I understand the calendar has not hit July yet. Tomorrow's a must win. Gain back the momentum. That's it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the Phillies lost again. So we're half a game out of the NL. As bad as they played,
They lose already?
They lost 1-0 again.
I just checked.
Oh wait, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. My bad.
No,
My bad. I checked yesterday.
Inning.
I'm
It's
sorry
the 8th
about
inning.
that. It's 1-0 in the 8th inning. My bad. I switched over for really quickly, but they're losing right now. Their offense went silent for the last 2 games right now. So the fact of the matter is the Mets have played so bad, they can end tonight a half game out of the NL East, and that is the key here, right? As bad as they played, now you hope this is the worst stretch of the season, right? You don't want to have another 10-game losing, 10 out of 11 losses.
Can't afford that.
You can't have another one of those because you're going to find yourself in big, big trouble because you get other teams that might have been creeping behind you, such as the Braves and other teams like the Cardinals and teams that are like on the fringe of a wild card or possibly right below a wild card and trying to fight for it. You don't want to be dealing with that stuff. You don't want that right now. You want to be right around the division, if not leading, but you want to be firmly in a playoff spot, right? I know the NL East, it's always nice to say, hey, you're NL East champions and all that, but a playoff spot is a playoff spot. And that's the most important thing. Yes, if you get the wild card, you got to play another round. But if you notice, baseball is the NHL playoffs now. You get in, anybody can win. So, will this team, I know this is long down the road, but if this team has one of the best 2 records in baseball and they get the bye, does this benefit a team that has that we've been talking about, being gassed and needing rest? I know that's so far down the line, but I just wanted to bring it up really quickly because of the fact that, you've seen the bullpen be overused and they look tired. Like honestly, they look tired, and we haven't had a lot of days off. The starting rotation, they can't go a 10-minute period without Clay Holmes talking about his innings and how they're gonna work with him with kid gloves, as Gary Cohen said, when Clay Holmes was on the mound when he was struggling in his last inning. It just what are they going to do? That's why you talk about McLean. You talk about, is Tidwell going to get another time? If they're going to go to a 6-man rotation, bring one of these kids up, Chris. Like you just said, like bring them up. Like stop playing with these guys, throwing them more and more innings in the minor leagues when I'm not saying any of these guys are going to be good. Like I have no idea, but they'll probably be, if they're bad, Tyler McGill. Right, but at least they get the experience because if you need them later on in the season, if somebody God forbid gets hurt or somebody's struggling and you're just like, all right, let's give them a break. You can throw them in for 2 or 3 starts. Leaving them down there is not benefiting this team at all. You're a month away, a little over a month away until the trade deadline. You got to see what these guys have. You can't die with them in the minor leagues and come trade deadline, and then you don't trade. Let's say they don't trade no pitching prospects, and then you're going to be like, what are we doing here? Are you going to put them and help them at the big league level, or you're just going to sit there and let them rot in the minors?
As ACJ stated in the chat here, I agree. Tidwell earned himself another start at the very minimum, but I 1,000% agree with you, Rob. There is no harm in bringing up at this juncture of the season a guy like Nolan McLean. There is no harm in doing it because I'm tired of needing to see a large sample size, whether it's pitching or whether it's offense in AAA. AAA is a dime a dozen. Let's be honest. Like, does AAA really matter at this point?
No.
I know that's the last step of the quote unquote development phase, but there's really, for me, bring me back the days where organizations like the Mets would call up a guy straight from AA. I believe like they did with Pintaro today, who didn't have it. I understand that. I mean, he's not going to be part of this team long term, but he also wasn't even a top 20 prospect in this farm system. I think he was like 22 or something. It's Michael Conforto. When he first came up, guess where he came from? You think he had AAA? No, he didn't. And he exploded onto the scene with the New York Mets way back when, almost a decade ago. Actually, it was a decade ago. Anyways, it's time flies, doesn't it?
Holy crap! Yeah, you just made me feel old, man. Like, god damn,
dude, it's a decade since Michael Conforto first came up. But listen, Nolan McLean right now, before Senga and Manaea get back, I feel like this would be a perfect time for at least a spot start. With Manaea setback with the loose body and his elbow, you're looking at post All-Star break. Senga, same thing. Why not, Rob? I mean, he's thrown 43 innings in AAA. That's good enough to me. He's done well. Bring him up.
Yeah, it's like, do I want to see Blackburn anymore? No. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you got Frankie Montas back. He's going to be in innings eater once he gets stretched out a little bit more. He's going, and everybody who wants to talk about AAA numbers, I tell you this all the time, especially with veterans. With young kids, you never know. But with veterans, all they're trying to do is get their pitch count up and stretch out their arm. If you go back and look at Frankie Montas' starts and look at his pitch sequences, it was like 92% fastball. Why is that? Because all they're working on is getting their velocity up, their arm strength up, stretching themselves out, and getting their pitch count up. No other reason. Yeah, they're going to throw some breaking balls here and there, but when all your breaking pitches and off-speed pitches are less than 8% of your sequence for each game, and I think the most he went to was 10% of breaking ball off-speed pitches. It was 90 or above with fastballs. Yeah. So, of course, we know AAA hitters can hit fastballs, right? We all know that.
ERA over there, Rob. He had a 12 ERA combined between high A ball and AAA, and he throws 5 scoreless against the Braves in his debut. Yeah. Like, it's not rocket science.
It isn't. It's all that's all they try to do. When you look at numbers when it comes to veterans, it doesn't matter. And Frankie Montas is going to give you a professional outing. That's what he's going to give. He's not going to be great. He might throw a gem every now and then, but he's going to keep this team in ball games. He's going to give you the innings that you desperately need. Even when he doesn't have it, he'll get to that 100 pitch mark. He'll battle. You see him battle on the mound. Like he's 100 miles an hour at every moment. You see him on the mound. He brings a little bit of that energy. And I know he's not DeGrom. He's not Kodai Senga. He's not even Manaea for that matter. And he's better than Blackburn. So, and because he has much better stuff. And even if you get 90% of what you seen a couple of years ago prior to getting traded to the Yankees, that's a win. And again, who knows if he's going to stay healthy? Who knows if he's going to pitch well? But you need professional guys at the back end of this rotation. You can't rely on Clay Holmes, who still hasn't hit the 90 inning mark yet. We don't know what we're going to get from him. Like, we don't know how fast he's going to break down. Is he going to get a second burst of energy? Kodai Senga, Manaea not going to be probably back until after the All-Star break. There's a lot of games. There's, about 30 games. You're going to go well over the 100 game mark before those two guys are going to pitch again. You gotta find some stability. Stability matters over, Talon McGill giving you 3 innings of 6-run ball. Like, you need stability. You need somebody to go out there, give you 5 innings, 2 or 3 runs, and keep your team in the ball game. And that is something that is got to be consistent. We need stability in this rotation at some point. You can't be relying on one guy to protect the entire rotation, especially when there's no guy that can be that ace. We all thought it was David Peterson when we wanted him to be the stopper. He struggled. And I still think he's going to be fine, but you can't rely on that one guy. You need it to be 2 or 3 guys in this rotation where you're confident saying, all right, this guy's going to give me a good chance to win a ball game. That's where it's at, because right now, unless the offense takes off, then we don't have to worry about the pitcher for a little while. But until then, we still need that pitching to be consistent.
Good things, but as it pertains to tonight and getting back a little bit into what we saw tonight, really good stuff from the offense. I mean, multi-hit performances for a lot of guys. I think Hayden Sanger also put together really competent at-bats in a spot start for Luis Torrens. Luis Torrens hasn't really been hitting the baseball a whole lot over the past 2 weeks, so he's not this major offensive upgrade from Francisco Alvarez that everyone was saying that he was, but both of these guys are defensive minded, and outside of Luis Torrens's horrible defensive performance in Atlanta the last series against them that one time, I think the pitchers are also benefiting from working in a battery with Torrens and Sanger, whoever is going to be getting that call on each given day. 13 hits, 7 runs, that's enough to win you a ball game. Do we wish that Edwin Diaz didn't have to get up and into the game today? Yeah, but who cares? So what? Plenty of times in the season where we didn't see Diaz for 5+ days. You know what I mean? And these are the situations that you save Edwin Diaz for. Edwin Diaz is going to be available tomorrow. He has to be. There's no negotiating that. He has to be available tomorrow. So that's it. That's it. So 47-34, 13 games over 500. The division, whether the Phillies win or lose tonight, doesn't really matter. It's still within reach. The Phillies also just had that type of stretch. They went, I think, 9 of 10 losses.
Yeah.
9 losses in 10 games just recently themselves before they pulled themselves back out of it.
Yeah.
When the Mets were sweeping the Phillies way back when at home, we were hearing their post-game show and we were laughing, right? Because they were in a rut. And now it's our turn. This happens to Major League Ball clubs over the course of 162. I'm not denying that. But what my problem is that you let a sweep, 2 sweeps. Okay, Braves, whatever. Braves sweep you, Rays sweep you. Cool. You go out there against the Phillies, you need to take care of business. But they're letting it snowball. That's the problem. They're letting it snowball. It's got to get capped at these past 11 games being horrible. Win today, move on to tomorrow. With Vientos coming back, I'm assuming tomorrow, because they said Thursday. There's been a lot of Thursday off days. Tomorrow's not an off day. This is a 4-game set with the Braves at home before they go to Pittsburgh. Who do you think is going down? Who do you think is going down?
On the broadcast, they were talking about either Beatty or Mauricio. I don't see why that makes any sense. Why don't you just bring down Young?
Get Jared Young out of here. Yeah, I agree.
Like I said, he's had some quality at bats in his stretch of games. He's been fine, but it's you can put all 3 of these guys in the lineup, right? There's no more Acuna to worry about. You can play. One of these guys. I know they don't want to sit McNeil, but you can DH Vientos if you don't like him in the field. You can put Beatty at third base. You can put Mauricio at second. You can maneuver McNeil around if you want to. You can play him in center a little bit more. It's not like Tyrone Taylor is destroying the baseball all over the place. You know what I'm saying? We need every bat we can that could be productive, right? We can take a little bit of defense. Oh, by the way, McNeil made a nice catch, right? That was probably the turn in the game where the Mets kind of got some life back, along with Clay Holmes brushing off Acuna on the first pitch in the first inning. But that catch by McNeil felt like it turned the table a little bit in that game, even though it was very early on. It felt like the momentum shifted after that, and that's when the Mets kind of took off. But I don't want to say, look, if it's Mauricio or Beatty, it doesn't make sense. You're going to send Mauricio down tomorrow after he went 3 for 4. That don't make no sense. I can see why they might have Beatty, but then again, Beatty gets DFA'd. He's not. So that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be Beatty. Beatty's going to be off the roster because he has no more options.
No, he has one option, Rob. He has one option.
Oh, we got
He
one.
has one
Okay,
option.
well there you go. So
He's got one.
all right. So we got one option. I still don't understand why they would do that. Like you got Mauricio healthy for a reason. We know the Mets are to the moon about Mauricio. Beatty has been fine. He hasn't been great, but he's been steady, right? He's been doing what he needs to do. Everybody's has been going into slumps. He's fine. He's good defensively, which is a good sign. And I don't trust Vientos at third base. So DH Vientos where he should be from now on. Put Beatty at third base. Put Mauricio at second, or if you want, put Beatty at second. Whatever you want to do. Because Mauricio say he's comfortable at third base, and Beatty has been fine at second. I play McNeil in center field as much as possible. If you want to do defensive replacements in center field with Taylor late in games, fine. But you need the bats in the lineup. The problem isn't, I know the defense hasn't been spectacular, but they've been fine. All right. I would take a little bit of lack of defense to put every bat I can in this lineup. McNeil is better than Taylor with the bat, right? Anybody else you can think of, if you're going to sit Mauricio Beatty or Mauricio for Tyron, just to put Tyron Taylor in center field, I think it is a disadvantage for this lineup, Chris, especially with this lineup not being good and hasn't been consistent all year. You need guys in that lineup that can potentially do something with the bat. McNeil has been good. Mauricio has shown some. He finally got a hit right-handed, which is a good sign. Beatty has, hit a home run. Got what was it yesterday? He had a couple of good hits overall, and I still think it's just time to worry about the lineup, and that's why you have defensive replacements late in games. You use Acuna almost every time for it. You got Jankowski now, so it's like use them and just put them in the lineup. At least I hope they do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's not a time right now to get cute with the lineups. I agree. This is a time to play the hot hand, and the Mets historically haven't done so. So we'll see if they actually do that this time around. But one thing I also want to talk about was the bullpen. I mean, Jose Buto has been coming around too. He's been doing a phenomenal job. Good to see Ryan Stanek also not get into any trouble in this game. And like you said, there has been some overutilization of a lot of these guys like Reed Garrett and Huascar Brazaban, namely that they've struggled the last couple of times. But you know, uh, the Mets are gonna need a bullpen arm at the deadline. Brooks Raley coming back is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough, but he's going to help. He's going to help. And I'm hoping that Daniel Nunez can also be a guy that figures it out and is able to replicate something of last year and is able to help out this team in a major way. I think the Mets need more pieces at the deadline than I personally had originally thought, like offensively and pitching wise. But what I will say is that there's good signs to the bullpen, and his name is Jose Buto. He's been pretty good over his last stretch of games. So, I mean, we'll see what continues to happen, but um, I just keep going back on this thought. It's like I just want it to be tomorrow already. I want it to be tomorrow because we're gonna know pretty much everything that we need to know about the Mets moving forward based off of what happens tomorrow. This is a great opportunity to seize momentum, and you got to do it, especially in front of the home crowd. The Mets have been so good at home this season, and you got to use that to your advantage right now. So really thrilled with this win. I will say all in all, McNeil had a multi-hit game. He's been okay with the bat, like you said. How many multi-hit games do we have today? I know Juan Soto, McNeil, I know Mauricio. Is there a fourth one that I'm missing?
Lindor got one, right? Let's see.
Yeah, I think Lindor got one. Sanger got
Beatty got 2
one.
hits. So 4.
Oh, Beatty got 2 hits. Multi game for Beatty too. So yeah, I agree with you though. Going back to the discussion about Beatty, Mauricio, and who's going to be sent down, keep them all here. Keep Mauricio, Beatty, and Vientos here. I don't need to see Jared Young anymore. I don't need to see Jared Young anymore. There's no purpose that he fits on this team right now. Let's be honest.
He doesn't. He doesn't at all.
He doesn't. So
No.
if we see one of these names, Mauricio or Beatty, going down tomorrow for Mark Vientos, I'm gonna be pretty pissed off. I'm gonna be pretty
Me
pissed
too.
off.
Me too. Yeah.
Because you already got the lefty bat. If you want a lefty, you already have it with Ronnie Mauricio. And you know what? I'd rather lose a ball game with Ronnie Mauricio at the plate than Jared Young. I'm gonna say that right now.
Agree.
I would rather do it.
100%. 100% agree.
So, yeah, that's where I stand on that.
And listen, these prospect huggers gotta love it. I mean, all these prospects are coming up. They're playing, right? Just because they don't perform doesn't mean they have to stay up here, right? Just because they hurt your feelings. Bring them up. Let them do something. See what they can do. Again, this is the time to do it. You have holes. You got openings. Nobody's taking advantage of it. You don't have a DH. We're going to be back for a long time. Marte is kind of the de facto DH against lefties, which is fine. But Marte doesn't have to play. Put him in every now and then. If Vientos is having a bad night or Beatty's having a bad night, you want to pinch hit, match up, fine. But Marte, put him on a bench, right? Let him DH every once in a while. Let him pinch hit every once in a while. That's it. I don't. It would be very frustrating. It would be annoying, right? Yeah. Let them play. Mauricio finally started getting going. Let's hope Vientos being healthy gets him going, because before he got hurt, he started to hit a little bit, and then he got hurt. Again, Beatty's been consistent, and why send these guys down? Like, I know it's not a demotion per se, but it's kind of like, what the fuck do I have to do to stay up here? And for Jared Young, it's just stupid, absolutely stupid. But what you were talking about, what that this team is going to need more than one big move, or in all likelihood, right? I think they need three. They need three big things, but I don't expect them to do that. Sure. I would like two out of the three big things. Like, pick the two. I don't care which one. Pick, if you want a center fielder, go get top three, right? One of the top three. Same thing with high leverage relievers. I was talking about this in the pregame, that I don't want to have a situation where the Mets need a center fielder. They possibly, let's say they don't need an infielder. Let's say that's been solved between Beatty, Mauricio, and Vientos. So the infield's fine. Let's say they need a high leverage bullpen arm, big arm in a bullpen, and a center fielder. Why can't they get both? There's nothing stopping them. They got the prospects. They got the money. There's guys available. I think they need to do both. Let's just say there's three things they need. And you could talk about rotation arm, right? I believe that they won't get a rotation arm, to be quite honest with you. I don't trust Stearns to do that, because I think he has to be right with this rotation. I don't think he's going to do anything with this rotation except maybe get another fourth arm, or fourth guy in the rotation, somebody like that, back end of the rotation type of guy, even though he should go after Alcantara, Gallen, and guys like that. I don't think he will. But if there's three needs, the rotation's already a need. If anybody don't believe that, you're crazy, right? Bullpen, starter, center fielder. You got to get 2 out of 3. You have to do it. There's no need. There's no reason not to do it, Chris. And, again, I don't even care the name. If they're in the top 3 of the best guys that are available at that specific position, bullpen, center field, rotation, I want one of those guys in the top 3. I don't want the top 8 guy or the top 7 guy or the top 10 guy, because we're already hearing rumors. The Cubs are going to go after the same guys we're going after. The Phillies, everybody's going after the same guys. Maybe 1 or 2 teams might not need a center fielder, but a lot of them need rotation. A lot of them everybody needs bullpen. So you can't let your competition get the better guys, and you get the middle of the pack guys and expect to do any damage. Now, it might work out just by circumstance. You might get a little lucky, but get the best guys available, because nothing's stopping them anymore. And you even said it many times. There's nothing stopping this organization anymore, right? They're not rebuilding. They're not transitioning. They're not building a farm system. It's built. You either use them, which they have been, or you use them on the field, or you use them as assets. Can't just leave them around and hang them out because you want to be top 10 in the farm, Major League Baseball for farm system. And yet we all know we got the money. So no excuse. They got to do it. You got to help this team. Show confidence in his team. Now, I don't like Stearns waiting around here, to be quite honest with you. I think he should be aggressive. And because, again, he seen the Devers trade came out of nowhere. I forgot I forget the pitcher that the Dodgers got. Oh, Edwin Diaz's brother for the
Alexis
Dodgers.
Diaz.
Right? That was, they did that when they had Tanner Scott, who wasn't pitching well. So they were aggressive. The Giants were aggressive. I want to see Stearns be aggressive here. The Orioles are out of it. Go to Baltimore and say, listen, what do you want from Mullins? Duran might be a little harder to get until the deadline because of the fact that Boston might see themselves still in it. But, I'm not saying he's not, but Stearns doesn't feel like the aggressive type. And to be, the push forward until it seems like things have to be laid out on the table and he sees all his options before doing it. When he can just jump on, maybe the Orioles are saying, you know what? First call. Let's just get rid of him. Let's just start getting the prospects. Let's get him, more money off the books for the rest of the season. And that's it. Like, I want to see that from him. There's no reason why he can't do it. Be a little aggressive. If you got to pay a little bit more, so what? What is their main goal? Every team's main goal is to what? Win a World Series, right? It ain't being the runner-up. It ain't getting to another NLCS because we've been there, done that. Do you want to lose again in the NLCS? Because I don't. It sucks, right? It was cute last year because we weren't supposed to be there, but we're supposed to be there. Anything less than that is a failure. Get in there. It should be the minimum. That's the goal, is to win a World Series. If you're not going to try to do that and be aggressive with it, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're just wasting our time here, Chris. So I hope Stearns is on the side of what you're believing Stearns is going to do, because it would make me very, very happy and all of us really happy. Do you think they would make 2 of the 3 big moves if need be?
I would say they will. I would say they will.
Okay.
I would say they will. I mean, this is you cannot half-ass this deadline. This is a championship season. This is a championship caliber season. This is a decent roster. It's a good roster, but it's not an elite roster. But you can make it one with the right moves. So a couple of teams to watch out for is the A's. I would say the Pirates is a team to watch out for. The White Sox. The Orioles, like you said as well. A lot of teams to watch out for, but it's so hard because, like, the Denver situation aside, the Denver situation was what it was.
Sure.
That was the Red Sox still being in it, but with the money they allocated, they just, in the situation of him kind of not wanting to be a team player, to move positions, whatever it was, that was a little bit of a one-off, right? That was a little bit of a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how soon David Stearns, he did it last season with Maton, kind of early in July. I'm not sure how soon he's going to be that aggressor. And that's the big thing, because you're right. There's going to be multiple teams after the same guys. We talk about center field, right? First of all, Cedric Mullins is a great player, and I think that he can have a lot of success in the Mets uniform. But let's be honest. Let's keep a spade here. He hasn't done well in 2025.
No.
He didn't really even do well in 2024. Like, I know what he's capable of because I've watched him for so long, but he hasn't done that over the past season and a half, at least in my eyes. Duran is your best bet, I would say. Duran is your best bet.
Well, Chris,
And there's
why does every Met fan want Robert then? He hasn't done it in 3 years.
I
You know
wanted
what I'm saying?
I wanted Robert. I think he recently just got injured. I think the Robert scenario is not. I saw some sort of rumor out there that the
Nightingale.
Mets actually are still interested in Robert. I think that has long passed. I think that would
I
be
hope
kind of a
so.
mistake at this point. It wouldn't inspire any confidence for me. Like, we all know what he is at his peak. Injury concerns and just inconsistencies is a big turnoff at this point with Robert. I would honestly rather go for Mike Talkman because he's having a better season than Robert. You know what I mean? Mike Talkman is he doesn't have the home run capabilities, but, like, he's a solid player, plays good defense, and that's an outfielder that you can have. So I don't know, man. We'll see. I think they do 2 of the 3. I will say, I think if this team decides to commit to a DH at the deadline, that's the way that I can see a bet happening. But with the lack of options in center field, I don't know if they're going to be aggressive in center field because you bring a guy like Cedric Mullins in. How much better really is he than Tyrone Taylor? I know I'd rather have Cedric Mullins. I agree with that offensively with the maximum performance that you can get out of him offensively over Tyrone Taylor. But overall numbers wise, how much is that an upgrade? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Stearns always talks about, like they always talk about potential and how much, they can get the best out of guys. So Mullins at his best is a lot better than Tyrone Taylor at his best.
Correct.
Now, right now, numbers, no. But,
Correct.
when you're talking about you're trying to, because, I mean, Mullins is going to cost a little bit, but not as much as Duran, obviously. And obviously probably a little bit more than Luis Robert. But it, at some you have to do it. You have to do it. Like if Duran's going to cost you 4 prospects, let's just say 3-4 prospects. Would Stearns actually do that for one guy? I don't think so. I think he would rather use 4 prospects for 2, high leverage arm and Mullins or something like that. So I would love to see Mullins in a better lineup because the Orioles, they're a very weird lineup. There are a lot of young guys that are going through it. And Mullins, not getting the contract extension and all that. I think, everybody talks about the attitude and, it's hard to play on a bad team. And I know the Orioles were really good last year and Mullins wasn't good. He started to pick it up in September and, got better, later in the year. But I always feel like these guys get an extra boost of energy when they end up on a better team, when they get traded to. Not always it happens, but I think Mullins would be better on a team like the Mets or just a team that's a contender, in my opinion. Now, I could be completely wrong, but to not do it because of his numbers now would frustrate me because if they do try to get a center fielder, why go get Robert if that's going to be your last option because you're not sure about Mullins when all Stearns talks about is the possibility of, guys exceeding expectations because Stearns lives off of that with pitching 100%, so I just feel like why don't do that for a guy who has the potential and in a lineup where you can easily bat him ninth. Easily, like you throw him in there, hit center field, he'd be batting ninth. That's another leadoff hitter right in front of Lindor. So I don't know. The Phillies lost 2-0. Wow, they had bases loaded with 1 out. Great, good for us. Now we're half a game out. Right? They lost.
Yo.
They did lose. Oh, they did lose. Look at that. Perfect. All right. So look, after all that, we're a half game out of first place again. So win tomorrow, and we'll all be happy, and we can kick the Braves out of our ballpark, and we'll all be heading to Pittsburgh, praying for no rain because the weather looks like shit. In Pittsburgh.
Can I throw out another? Oh, does it really? That sucks.
Yeah, Saturday is supposed to be shitty. Friday's 50-50, but Saturday is interesting. But it fluctuated because it was 20% like 4 days ago, and now it's like 70%. So who knows? It's summertime. You never know.
That sucks. Dolo took my idea. I was researching the optics on this. A name to look out for is Byron Buxton, dude. I'm sorry. This
What's his
guy's having a
contract?
hell of a season. He's making 15 per year, though. It's not that bad. He's making 15 per year for the next 3 years. Like, at this point, you go get that guy. You DH him. You DH Byron Buxton. You have to. He's an injury waiting to happen. But Buxton is a beast, as 1818 is saying right here. He's a beast.
Yeah, and the Twins are kind of
17 home runs this season. You need
Yeah.
that star power in your lineup.
All right, so you'll take on that contract. It's not a bad contract at all.
It's
You
not bad.
really think Stearns is going to take on a contract like that?
I mean, listen, I don't care. I don't care at this point. David Stearns needs to take on a contract like that. I don't
But
care.
that's my
Like
point.
I gave David Stearns excuses this past off season. I can't give him any more
Yeah.
excuses than this because Duran's out there. If it's not Duran, Byron Buxton, because the Minnesota Twins are, I'm sorry to say it, they're a terrible organization. Like they had opportunities to build a competent franchise. And with Buxton, with Correa, like they've had opportunities, but they're not willing to fully go for it. You go and call up that team and you blow them away with an offer and you pray that Byron Buxton doesn't get hurt in the second half or the next 3 years. And you do everything to protect him by making him a semi DH, a semi DH, right? You do that. You do that. I would take his bat alone as a DH at this point. I would. It's unfathomable. So that would be honestly even more so than Jarren Duran. I think that would be the first because if Tyrone Taylor's still in this lineup and still playing center field on a platoon basis with Jeff McNeil, I don't care. I don't care. But you need to prioritize the DH situation in that scenario. So when I talk about getting away from this stupid platoon DH, this is the reason why. I don't need to see Marte Winker anymore. Give me a solidified DH. If you give me Byron Buxton to go DH for this team, and listen, I know it's a far shot. I know that we're just kind of speaking hypothetically here. I'm not naive to that fact. If you go give me Byron Buxton, you go send Jesse Winker and Starling Marte elsewhere. I'm tired of hearing this. Oh, he's a glue guy to this team. Oh, he's doing this for the clubhouse. I don't care. I was going to use more foul language than that. I don't care. I don't care. That doesn't appease me. I care about on-field production. Starling Marte hasn't been half bad. I will give him that. I'll give him that credit. But if you go get one DH that you can plug in on a daily basis, you go and do that.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably the DH spot production is fine, is more valuable to this team than maybe getting a center fielder. You have a center fielder, Tyrone Taylor. You have Jeff McNeil, who can play center field. The defense is a drop off from Tyrone Taylor, but Tyrone Taylor is not an incompetent bat. We're not talking about a guy that, won't get on base for you. He'll get on base for you. So, yeah, I like Buxton's name a lot. I'm sorry. I like Buxton's name a lot. And on the occasion, if you want to DH Vientos, as Henry is saying in this chat, then you can play Buxton in the outfield. Then you can go ahead and do that. Like, you really, what you can do is play him in left field and then DH also Nimmo if you wanted to. Like, that's a possibility. I don't know, Rob. I got excited. I saw the name Byron Buxton. I got excited. I was like, this guy's a perfect fit.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is.
It's not a Stearns guy. It's not an
I
expiring.
agree. I
I'm telling
agree,
you
but
right
I'm
now.
tired of this. Not a Stearns guy. This not a Stearns
But
guy.
that's the
That I
thing.
don't care anymore. I don't care.
I don't think Stearns changes for anything. He's going to
It's
get
fine.
all expiring contracts. I'm telling you that right now. And he, he's talked about it, about not, him and Cohen talked about not, continuing to spend, crazily and being over the cap and all over the luxury tax threshold. They talked about this. Stern talks about it almost in every scenario he talks about when it comes to getting players at the deadline. Of course, he's going to do something.
Well, that matters for this. The expiring contracts and the cap or whatever, the luxury tax matters for this season, I guess. But Marte's coming off the books and Winker's coming off the books. Right there alone with that money coming off the books, that's Buxton's salary right there.
I agree with you. Like, I don't have no problem. Like, Buxton sounds like a great get, right? But again, I'm looking at Stearns and what he's done. And even with the money, I don't think the money matters to him. I think he sees it as, yeah, it's a great option to have. But if I don't have to do it, add on money, I'm not going to do it. If the expiring contract is what I'm telling you right now, getting basically given nothing for Blackburn and he had an extra year on the contract, that's simple work, right? That's something that you can do in your sleep, right? Getting Stanek, who was Look, Maton, Stanek, these guys were all expiring contracts. Like Winker, expiring contract. Like I know last year was a different scenario because it was evaluating and all that. I just don't think. And again, you have to give up prospects to get expiring contracts, especially at the top of the class in whatever position you're going for. I just don't see it. That's why I'm talking about Mullins, right? Luis Robert probably cost change, even though he's still under contract. I think Buxton is probably cheaper than Robert because I think he has a $20 million team option. So like anything with an expiring contract that might be at the top of the list of players, that's what you're going to look for first. And obviously other teams are going to look for that as well. But this is what annoys me about David Stearns, because this is why I don't trust it. Because I see a guy like Dave Dombrowski. Did you hear his interview the other day when the Mets were playing Philly? Stupid me. I was listening to the radio, the broadcast of the Phillies, because when I like to listen to it sometimes just to get their thoughts. They have Dave Dombrowski on. You know what he says? He says, we have a team and a guy like Schwarber that's going to be a free agent. Guys are getting older. We spent a ton of money. I don't care about prospects. Is it going to better our team now? If they're not, I'm going to get guys that are going to help our team today. That's what he said on a broadcast. Blatantly was asked the question, and he said it just like that. I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said that. You can't let that happen. I'm not saying that the Phillies are going to get everybody the Mets want, but
that's a desperate team.
That's fine. That's fine. But you know what? That can screw the Mets at the end of the day. Because if they get that pitcher you want, or those two pitchers you want, that bullpen on that starter, you're going for the next best. And that's if other teams are not going to get the other best guys. Like Stearns needs to be very aggressive here. And we're talking about this now. And, we're 52 minutes into the stream and we talk about this game. Look, the Mets won. Congratulations, right? They finally played a game of baseball with very little mistakes, which is a great day. One day.
Great start.
And they got to take it into tomorrow. So that's why we're talking about this, because we know the problems with this team. We know the holes. It's probably not going to change with holes. Even if everybody gets healthy, we're still going to need a bullpen arm. We're still going to need another starting pitcher. We might need a center fielder. Like there's a lot of things here that are going to come into play over this next month. I want to see Stearns be the aggressor. Because again, every year it seems like the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Padres, everybody in the National League are doing something that every year. They do it every freaking year. God, the Phillies got this, the Dodgers got this, the Padres got this. And you know what?
The Padres especially, honestly.
The Cubs scare the hell out of me because I feel like the Cubs are going to do whatever it takes. I don't know why. I think because, they're still in this weird scenario. I'm blanking on Tucker right now with they were talking about an extension about a month and a half ago, and now you heard nothing. So maybe that's not working out too well. So they're going to try to do everything they can to try to win with Tucker. And I feel like that I'm telling you, there's a lot of desperate teams out there, and that's a dangerous game to play. The Mets don't seem desperate. And if maybe some Mets fans are not desperate, I want to tell everybody something. There is no guarantee Pete Alonso's on this team next year. Brandon Nimmo is breaking down in front of our eyes. All right. I don't trust Brandon Nimmo. There'll be times where I think he's getting hot and then his neck will hurt and it'll be out a week. Like he's an injury waiting to happen. Francisco Lindor, how many more years are we going to have of this type of Francisco Lindor? Maybe 2 or 3 before he starts breaking down? Maybe. And then we have Juan Soto. So do what you need to do now, because this team could, again, look very different next year. You might have a new first baseman. Jeff McNeil might be gone. You might be playing a lot of these young kids that you might not trade. Like, be the aggressor. There's a lot of desperate teams. And for any Met fan that says that it might not be a little bit of a desperate team, don't wait until these guys are 34 years old to be desperate, because that doesn't make sense. You have an opportunity here. You're a top 5
Don't do what the Phillies did.
I agree.
They did that. The
I
Phillies are the most desperate team in this league right now. The
absolutely.
Cubs could be second.
But they should be though, because when you get to the World Series and then you get to the NLCS and then you get to the NLDS, you're a fringe bullshit team at that point. A
They
playoff
choked
team.
it
Yeah,
away
yeah, that's what I'm
every
saying.
year.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So they're going to be very desperate, and that's a team in your own division. That's why you got to push the Braves out of this scenario, because you only
Agreed.
want one desperate team in your division, not two.
Yep.
And that's the other thing that the Mets almost somewhat failed on these 6 games so far against the Braves.
Spot on. Don't let them come back into this division. One team already taking over your lead is bad enough. You're a half game back, even despite this terrible stretch. Don't make it a 3-team race. I don't do it. The Braves have shown a willingness to come back and take a division from you. How many games down? Don't let that happen. Don't let this be a 3-team race. The Mets and the Phillies both want this to be against each other, and the Braves out of the picture. And the Braves are kind of in a weird scenario too, because it's like their injuries are also plentiful, and they're how many games out. But I don't know, man. You sweep the Mets, go lose a series against the Marlins, and then come back and beat the Mets for 2. It's a weird situation. It's a weird timeline. I don't know what to make of it. But the Mets need to take care of business. I don't know how many times we're going to say it before we end the stream. Take care of business tomorrow, please. I'm tired of these Braves fans on my videos and your mention and everybody's mentions, really talking about sweep this,
Chris,
sweep that. Like,
you're
yeah,
getting the brunt of the Braves fans like I used to a couple of years ago. It's your turn.
brutal,
It's so much.
brutal,
It's
brutal.
so
Get them out of my mentions, shut them up, and let them be 10 games out again, starting beginning of July, and that's a little bit of a more insurmountable feat for them. That's all I got. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's a night game as well. I mean, I'll be available. What's tomorrow? Thursday. I might be available for a pregame. I probably will be available for a postgame. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Take care of business. Clearly, this Mets team has needs. Stearns can't half-ass this deadline. I'm not giving any excuses to David Stearns' deadline. I've said it back in the offseason. I'll say it again. This is David Stern's time to make this team a true elite championship contending team. And if he fails to do so, it's nobody's blame but David Stern's. This first half was, I don't know why, but it was an assessment half. And they honestly passed the test. I mean, outside of the last stretch of games, I will say, unless anything drastic happens, unless they lose like 15 of their next 20,
Oh
I
boy.
feel like they low key passed the test and they've gotten by. And the division is close. But now is the time to go for it. I don't care what name this team has. MLB ready, Acuna, Mauricio, Beatty, minor leagues. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be one untouchable, whether it's McLean, whether it's Tong, whatever. Everybody else, see ya. See ya later. Let's go out there. After investing $765 million to Juan Soto, let's go out there and show that we are a serious organization about contending this season. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Well said. Well said. Prospect huggers be damned. Mets win 7-3, 47-34, half a game out of NL East as the Braves lose. The Phillies lose again against the Astros. So let's get it done. Win tomorrow, split the series against the Braves, and we all head to Pittsburgh, hopefully with smiles on our faces, and we get 3 games in Pittsburgh. With that said, guys, have a good night. Let's go Mets, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Good night.
See you tomorrow. Let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kids.